Happiness. Every human being on this planet is chasing it, praying for it, searching for it, begging for it, fighting for it. But most people live their entire lives without ever experiencing the real thing. They get moments of excitement, flashes of joy, temporary highs, but deep, sustainable happiness, that's rare. And it's rare not because happiness is complicated, but because we've been looking for it in all the wrong places. You see, happiness isn't something you find. Happiness is something you build. It's a skill, it's a practice, it's a decision, it's a standard. And until you learn to build it from within, you will always depend on the world to give it to you. And the world will fail you every single time. People wait for the perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect body, the perfect house, the perfect moment. But happiness doesn't come from perfection. Happiness comes from progress. Happiness comes from growth. Happiness comes from meaning, direction, purpose. It comes from the feeling that your life matters, that your choices matter, that you matter. But here's the problem. Most people have trained their minds to stay unhappy. They don't even realize they're doing it, but every day, through their rituals, their thoughts, their reactions, their beliefs, they are rehearsing unhappiness. They keep reliving old pain. They keep comparing themselves to others. They keep focusing on what's missing instead of what's present. They keep telling themselves stories that make them suffer, and then they wonder why they feel stuck. Happiness isn't an accident. Happiness is not luck. Happiness is the result of what you consistently think and consistently do. Let me tell you a truth that may shock you. The mind is not designed to make you happy. The mind is designed to keep you safe. And what is safe? Familiar pain, familiar patterns, familiar fears, familiar limitations. That's why people stay in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, bad environments, because their mind has associated familiarity with safety, even if it's destroying them. To learn how to be happy, you must learn how to break this pattern. Happiness begins with awareness. Us. You have to see the invisible forces controlling your life. You have to examine the story you've been telling yourself about why you're not happy. Every story has a villain, a victim, and a hero. And too many people have cast themselves as the victim in their own story. They blame circumstances, family, money, the world, luck, without realizing the greatest power they have is the power to choose the meaning of their experiences. There are people who have nothing, yet they radiate joy. And there are people who have everything, money, success status, and they're drowning inside. What does that tell you? It tells you happiness is not in things. Happiness is an interpretation. Happiness is in mindset. Happiness is in emotional mastery. If you want to master happiness, you have to master your focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what's wrong, you will feel wrong. If you focus on what's lost, you will feel empty. If you focus on what's missing, you will feel lack. But if you focus on what's good, what's growing, what's possible, you will feel alive. The quality of your life is the quality of what you consistently focus on. Most people live in a state of reaction. Something happens, and their emotions get controlled instantly. Someone says something and they get offended. A plan changes and they get frustrated. A challenge appears and they get discouraged. Every shift in their environment shakes their entire nervous system. But happiness does not belong to people who react. Happiness belongs to people who respond. People who choose meaning. People who choose state. People who choose how they want to feel regardless of what is happening around them. Your happiness is not in the hands of events. It's in your interpretation of events. And if you don't choose your interpretation, society will choose it for you. Most people are miserable because they have installed mental rules for happiness that are impossible to satisfy. They say things like, I'll be happy when I make this much money. I'll be happy when I get this job. I'll be happy when people respect me. I'll be happy when I look a certain way. But if happiness depends on conditions, you'll always live in emotional poverty. You must make happiness a practice, not a prize. Happiness begins with gratitude. Cliche gratitude. Emotional, embodied gratitude. Gratitude that you feel in your chest. Gratitude that rewires your nervous system. Gratitude that pulls you into the present moment. When you practice gratitude daily, your brain begins to scan the world for what's right instead of what's wrong. You start experiencing the world not through fear, but through abundance. Happiness requires honesty. You have to admit what's keeping you stuck. You have to admit the habits, the beliefs, the people, the patterns that steal your joy. You cannot heal what you refuse to confront, and you cannot confront what you're unwilling to admit. Happiness requires courage. courage to let go, courage to move on, courage to forgive yourself, courage to forgive others, courage to start again. People think happiness is soft. No, happiness is the ultimate form of strength. Anyone can complain. Anyone can stay bitter. Anyone can stay angry. It takes power to rise above your story and choose peace. Happiness requires identity. You must see yourself as someone who deserves joy. Most people subconsciously sabotage their happiness because their identity is built around suffering. They've repeated the same pain for so long that happiness feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels unsafe. You must break the identity that says, I'm not enough, I'm unlucky, I'm broken, I'm unworthy. Nothing changes until your identity changes. Tell yourself, I am someone who can be happy every day of my life. Not because life is perfect, because I choose the meaning. That's how you shift. Happiness requires purpose. When you wake up with a mission, life feels alive. When you feel needed, life feels meaningful. When you contribute to something bigger than yourself, suffering loses power. You're not here to just survive. You're not here to just go through. You're not here to just go through the motions. You're here to create, to contribute, to grow, to love, to evolve. Accidentally. Happiness requires presence. Most people live in the past or the future. They're haunted by yesterday or worried about tomorrow, and they never experience the gift of day. Happiness lives in the present moment. The breath you're taking right now, the opportunity in front of you, the people around you. The people around you. You cannot be happy if you're not here. Happiness requires discipline, emotional discipline, mental discipline, the discipline to not fall back into old patterns, the discipline to choose empowering thoughts, the discipline to direct your focus. Happiness is a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. And yes, happiness requires contribution. You cannot be deeply unhappy while lifting others. When you help, when you give, when you support, when you love, you feel connected. Connection is one of the deepest human needs, and fulfillment is one of the highest. You feel happiest when your life touches others. And finally, happiness requires acceptance. Acceptance that life is not perfect. Acceptance that pain is part of the journey. Acceptance that uncertainty is part of growth. Acceptance that you cannot control everything, but you can always control your response. Happiness doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from inner alignment. When you understand that happiness is a skill, not luck, a choice, not a reward, a practice, not an accident, your life changes. So if you truly want to be happy, decide that happiness is your standard. Decide that happiness is your daily practice. Decide that happiness is your responsibility, no one else's. Close your eyes and breathe. Feel the air enter your lungs. Feel your chest rise. This moment is your life. This breath is your gift. This second is your opportunity. You're here, you're alive, and you're capable of experiencing joy every single day. Train your mind, open your heart, reconnect with your purpose, step into gratitude, choose empowering meanings, break your old patterns, own your identity, break your old patterns, own your identity, and truly learn what it means to be happy. Not someday, not later, not after achieving something, but now, today. Because happiness is not a destination, it's the way you walk through life.